All right, guys. Today we're going to talk about the fourth major operation. We've already spent a lot of time on addition, subtraction of integers. We've talked now about multiplication of integers. Today we're going to talk about division of integers. Okay, so really quickly, I just want to talk about the concept of division. So to be able to probably do that, the best way to understand, or for some people to understand what division actually is to just, let's give a quick review of what multiplication is. So if you remember what we talked about yesterday was we talked about if, let's say this is, we're having an activity, we're just talking about basic multiplication, and I turn around and I say, okay guys, we're going to go ahead, well, let's talk about this first actually. Remember, just a review. When it comes to multiplication, we're talking about groups, okay? They're going to be basically equal size groups, and that's my next thing is the size of those groups, okay? They're always going to be equal size. That's what multiplication is. And then remember what we talked about. The total is what they're going to be asking about. What is the total amount? So going back to what I was saying, if we're talking about a multiplication problem that we've talked about recently, more than likely, it is, well, what if I tell everyone, okay guys, let's go ahead and get in groups. When you're in your groups, go ahead and go over, and I would like for you to grab 3 hula hoops and place them on the ground. Okay, then what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and go to the bucket on the other side of the room, go ahead and grab 2 marbles, or grab a bunch of marbles and place 2 in each hula hoop. Okay, so here's the thing. You have 1, 2, 3 hula hoops. That ends up being the groups. Okay, you can kind of see it here on the ground, a little sketching. The size, meaning the size of each group. So this, in this case, is talking about the marbles. The size of each group, there are 2 in each. So with a multiplication problem, remember that you would say, okay, what is the total? That would be the question. What's the total amount of marbles? And of course that would be, you could probably see it, right? 6. So that's of course an example of multiplication. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, now I'm going to use that and I want to talk about division. And I want you to notice how when we're talking about the story, how the story is going to change, all right, this little imaginary story. So here's what I would say. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and please go over to the bucket and grab 6 marbles. What I'd like you to do is then go and grab 3 hula hoops. What I'd like you to do is please tell me how many marbles will go in each hula hoop to make them, or to give them, an equal size or an equal amount in each hula hoop. All right, so notice on multiplication, right, we had groups, we had size, and we had to find out the total. Okay, however, with division, one of the ways it can happen is they actually give you the total, that's given, and then they can turn around and give you the groups and ask you, of course, how many go in each group to make it work. This is division. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, now the other thing I want to talk about is, sticking with division, is there's 2 ways to have a division problem. So you could say, okay guys, go ahead and get 6 marbles, and what I'd like you to do is take those marbles and put them on the ground where you pair them up 2 each. So groups of 2 marbles each. The question is how many hula hoops do you need, or how many groups? So with it, same kind of thing. Division will give you the answer. They're either going to give you the group or the size.
Espen Vialta, please come to the Rayburn office. Espen Vialta, please come to the Rayburn office.
Okay, so concept of division. So just a little reminder, and we will talk more about this, but keeping this in mind and how this all works, this will help you comprehend your test problems, which are coming up on the test. This will help you understand what, when you have a word problem, to know, is it multiplication, is it division? Okay, our goal is to be able to read it and recognize it. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and let's focus in on the computation part, the actual solving of each individual division problem. So if you haven't already done it, go ahead and grab your book, flip open to page 247. 247. Okay, and let's look at problem number 6. Okay, number 6 in your book says, it reads like this: 84 divided by negative 12. 84 divided by negative 12. Okay, now the steps I'm about to write down should look pretty familiar to you, so here we go. The very first thing you're going to do with a division problem like this is you are going to ignore the signs, you're going to ignore the positives and negatives, and you're going to go ahead and divide just the numbers. Okay? Probably the best 7th grade way of saying this is you're going to divide the absolute value of 84 and negative 12. Okay? So, bottom line is, here's what we're doing. I'm ignoring the signs. 84 divided by 12. Now, I know this is long division. Some of us are not huge fans because of the guess and check part of it. But we have 84 divided by 12. So here's what we're going to do. With the guess and check, right, we're not going to start, 12 goes into 84 367 times. Okay, well, you're not going to just grab some random number. So just a little review of elementary school long division, right? We need to find a good strategic place to start. So maybe the best way to do this is to cover up or just look at the numbers in the tens. All right? So meaning that I'm going to pretend like it's just 1 divided into 8. That just gives me a starting point. So I'd say, okay, well, 1 goes into 8 times. So now I'm going to go ahead. I've done an educated guess. I'm going to go ahead and check. So 12 times 8. So 2 times 8 is 16. Carry the 1. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9, 96. Too big. So guess what? We're going to alter it. We're going to try it again. Instead of 12 times 8, because it was too big, we're going to go down. Let's try 12 times 7. 2 times 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 7 plus 1, 84. Perfect. So 84 divided by 12 is 7. Okay? Now, before we figure that's the end, step number 2, and here's what we're going to do. Since we've already talked about multiplication of integers, I'm going to put step 2 as this. It is the same rules, or we could say the same sign rules as it was for multiplication. So if you remember right, kind of like elementary school, right? 8 divided by 2, positive 8 divided by positive 2 is positive 4, right? They were both positive, meaning that they were the same on the integers. The answer is positive. Okay, of course, if they're different, it's negative. That was what we've talked about. So in this case, we have a positive divided by a negative, and our answer is negative. And so our final answer is negative 7. So here's what I'd like you to do. Very similar problem. Please go ahead and flip over to page, same page, just the problem right in front of that, problem number 5. Problem number 5. Okay, I'll go ahead and give you 30 seconds. Try that. Go. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and turn to your neighbor and go ahead and share your answers. 30 seconds. Go. Okay, so the problem you guys were working on was 22 divided by a negative 2. So here we go. I'm going to walk through the same steps, right? Remember, I'm going to divide just the numbers, meaning I'm ignoring the signs. I'm dividing the absolute values. So 22 divided by 2. Now, if you want to do long division, you can, but most of us will be able to do that mentally. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Okay, now remember, if they were the same signs, it would be a positive 11, but the issue is that this is positive and that's negative. So if in the problem here, if they are both negative, our answer is negative. So we end up with negative 11. Okay, let's take a look at another type of problem. All right, let's take a look, flip back over to page 246, or just look at 246, and let's go ahead and check out problem number 6. Okay, problem number 6 says this. I'll go ahead and box this out here and use this space. Problem 6 is, in parentheses, x plus y divided by negative 3, in parentheses there. And the directions say evaluate each expression if x equals 8 and y is equal to negative 5. So if you remember right, this is what we've talked about for a while now. Step 1 is you're going to go ahead and you're going to rewrite it, put parentheses where the variables are. Now I can make big parentheses signs here and then littles on the inside, or because I'm going to have embedded parentheses, I can change those outside parentheses to brackets. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm going to have parentheses plus parentheses, then divided by negative 3. And then step 2, pretty much you can almost do at the same time as step 1. I can plug in my numbers. So they said again, looking, x is 8, positive 8. Y is negative 5. So I'm plugging my numbers in. Now step 3 is I'm going to go ahead and solve this, but remember at this point there's some stuff going on here, more than one operation. I need to use the correct order of operations. So P, of course, I need to do everything in the parentheses. Well, the 8, the 5, and the negative 3 are all integers, but remember, the brackets are parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solve that. Now, be very careful, okay? Because this is where it'll start getting a little more challenging for some of us. This is 8 plus negative 5. We are finding the sum of 8 and negative 5, meaning be careful with the rules. Remember, adding is completely different. Remember, we've used our T-charts, we've used our number lines, we've used our integer counters, okay? You can use any of those strategies. I'm going to go ahead and use a T-chart. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and circle my integers with the sign in front of them. So it's a positive 8 and a negative 5. Go over here, build my quick T-chart. Positive 8, negative 5. They're on different sides of the T-chart. So I move it over and subtract, and I end up with 3. Or in this case, it's on a positive side, positive 3. So 8 plus negative 5 is positive 3. So I can either bring the brackets down or I can change them back to parentheses, but the bottom line is it's positive 3, and don't forget to rewrite the problem, divided by negative 3. Now we're back to division. Now we need to flip a switch in our brain and use our division strategy. So remember, same rules that's up at the top here. Ignore the signs, divide the numbers. So 3 divided by 3 gives us 1. And then remember our sign rules for multiplication, or in this case division. They're again different, so our answer is negative 1. Okay, I'm going to have you try one just like that. Okay, before you do, okay, I want to let you know, okay, off your homework tonight, it's on problem number 12. Okay, so I just want to clarify it and give you a little reminder. It is 8 minus r over negative 2. Now just a little reminder, when you do this problem, you're going to go ahead, of course, do everything we did up here, but when you what you're going to do is you're going to simplify the numerator, meaning the top part of this, separate than the denominator. And then at the very end, remember that fraction at this point, you can look to divide. Okay? So this is a little longer problem, so I'll check in with you guys in 1 minute. Go. Okay, so in the next 30 seconds, I want you to share your, not just your answer, you can start with your answer if you want, but please share each other's work. Please take a look, make sure they're using parentheses when plugging in the value of r, okay, before they start evaluating that expression, all right? So 30 seconds, go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share. Go. Okay. All right, so here we go. 8 minus r divided by negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to go ahead and put parentheses where the r is. So it's 8 minus parentheses divided by negative 2. So remember, step 2 is I'm plugging in what r is. So in the directions it says evaluate each expression if r equals 12. All right, so here we go. I've plugged that in. I go ahead, the bottom actually is already simplified, right? It's already just negative 2. So instead, what I'm going to do is it's okay to rewrite the numerator over here, especially if you're going to work downwards. So here we go. Subtraction, I'm going to go ahead, circle my positive 8. Remember 12, because it's subtraction, it has a negative value. So I'm going to go ahead, build my t-chart, positive, negative. 8 is positive, 12 is negative. I go ahead, move the 8 under the 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. It's on the negative side, so it ends up being negative 4. So here's what we have is negative 4 in the numerator, right there. And now, remember what I said earlier, I can go ahead and divide. So I ignore the signs. This is division. I ignore the signs. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And I have a negative divided by negative. They're the same sign, so our answer is a positive 2. Positive 2. All right? So that is our lesson on division of integers.